right tree because you can, all the trees have sap, but you want the sweet sap from the sugar maple. Just a second.
Because every
To be about 40 years old before we can tap them, and so that means they're about 10 inches or 25 centimeters. So if they're smaller than this, we don't tap them because it would be unhealthy for the tree. Some of our trees are much bigger, and we can put 2 buckets on them because they're so big. Yeah, usually they're about 40 years old before we can tap them. And then once we have the taps in, usually we take a power drill to the tree and just go in about this much. There's the sapwood on the outside, which is this part here. This is hardwood tree, so you don't want to tap into that because it can. There's no sap running through this part. It's actually more of a dead wood, but it can leave the tree open to infection if you go all the way in. So you just want to get into there. This is where the sap is flowing in and out of the tree. And the trees, the sap starts running when the temperature is cold at night and warm in the day. So 5 degrees below, -5 at night, and then +5 degrees above during the day. And when it's really sunny, even the sap really flows even more. So you can fill a whole bucket in a day. But if it's a rainy, colder day, it might not be flowing that much. You might just get a little bit in the bottom of the bucket. But you can see this tree here was tapped a number of different years. So it heals itself after we take the taps out. The tree heals itself. But it's all on one side because you always put the buckets facing the sun. Because that's the side that'll warm up faster and the sap will flow a lot sooner. And then you can see the syrup grades up here. We've got the light to the dark. And that just, that is all the same amount of sugar in those, but it's the season. So at the beginning of the season when the sap first starts flowing, you get that golden color. And that's because it's the sap in the tree. It's just the first frost, everything's starting to move. By the end, you're pulling in more nutrients and enzymes from the roots. The water is coming in that way, so you have to cook it longer. And it has a more robust maple flavor. And so in the evaporator, it's just like this example here. We've got a big container at the back of this building full of sap. It is always coming in through a brew pan and boiling off the water because sap is 97% water and 3% sugar, so you want to get down to that sugar. And it's always moving through, and then the front flat pan is where it's finishing off. And when it reaches the 219 degrees, then it's ready to pour. And our evaporator will automatically pour. And it pours out, you can see behind Mark there, into a felt filter. Because you do get this really gritty maple sand. And it is actually just sort of hard sand. So if you tried to eat it or anything, it might taste sweet, but it would also be crunchy. You couldn't really eat it. So we just pour that back in the forest. It's just part of the things that come up with the sap as it's coming in through the roots and all that kind of thing. It develops that sand. Now over here, we just have an example. Some of the younger people have been interested in trying to sort of use the old-fashioned drill and make a hole. So afterwards, you're welcome to come up and try that. And then we have our spouts that we put in the tree. Nowadays, when we tap our trees, we just have the power drill. But then you would have your spout or your vial or spigot. There's lots of words for that. That we then tap the tree and tap into it. So that's why it's called tapping the tree. We're tapping our spout into there. And so the sap just drips right out. And even today, some of them are dripping just a little bit. But at the beginning of the spring, when it started flowing, when we would tap that, it would just, a lot of it would be coming out, especially on a warm day. And then to catch that, we've got our bucket. And so that will collect on a nice warm day, that bucket will fill right up. On a rainy, colder day, it might just be a little bit at the bottom. And then we've just got our lid. So this helps keep out rainwater so we don't have extra boiling to do. Right now though, there's lots of flies and moths if you're checking the buckets. And again, it's later in the season. Our season might be ending this week because the temperatures are going so high during the day, not getting as cold at night. So maples are very sensitive to climate change. They rely on the climate. They need that 5 degrees below at night and +5 during the day is the most ideal temperature for them for the sap to be flowing. Yeah, this is, like I mentioned, that filter that you see there is like this. It's felt, and so the syrup at the last pour will go through the filter, and this is the sand. So you get this sort of sludgy sand. It's sticky and sweet, but it's crunchy. So you definitely wouldn't want that on your pancakes. So that is that there. And here you can see Mark is filling up our evaporate the front there with firewood to keep the temperature up. This is a tool that we use, calipers. It's just to measure the tree to make sure that we're not tapping a tree that's too small. So this tree is just about 30 centimeters almost, and they need to be 25 centimeters or more to tap. So that's about 10 inches. Otherwise they're too young. But when they're at that 25 centimeter range, they're about 40 years old. And some of our trees in the sugar bush are, a couple hundred years old. And we had 440 trees tapped this year. And over 18,000 liters of sap.